Welcome back to the Bears Baseball Network. There was rain on our parade this weekend, so we did not get any Bears baseball. So today, going to take a step back and take a look at some questions heading into the 2025 season. Obviously, we got a little taste of some baseball a couple weeks ago, but we really have not gotten things going. So I've got a bunch of fill-in-the-blank questions here. I'm going to ask KJ and Bernie, and we'll see how they feel about some of the hottest topics going into the 2025 season. Let's go ahead and start first. KJ, let's start with some 13U Burnstill questions. This team, I think, is primed to be the top youth team in the Bears. They have the potential to be the best team in the Bears, competing with that 6U Floyd squad. So let's go ahead and start with a very simple one. KJ, 13U Burnstill won 58 games in 2024. They will win blank in 2025.
Yeah, I think it's definitely easy to say they're better than they were last year. They won 58 games last year. I could see them going for 70 this year.
Wow, 70 I think is going to be maybe the ceiling. I think that's a great goal. I believe only one team in Bears history has won 70 games. I do think 13 Burnstill is in that conversation. I would say 66 would be my answer for that one. Bernie, let's go ahead and ask you this next one about the Burnstill squad. In 2024, Burnstill had 2 players with 20 or more extra base hits. In 2025, Burnstill will have blank players with 20 plus extra base hits.
I'll roll with 5. I'll be
5.
I'll be the ceiling optimistic person.
All right, who you got? Give me some names. Who are the possibilities? Maybe give me 6 or 7 possibilities.
Okay, I think Harrison, Rudy, Vogt, and Kenny are the locks. With one of Owen Lewis, Braden Young, being the guys Rowan Damshaw, the guys who pick up that 5th spot.
Yeah, I think a lot of potential in that team, a lot of big bats. I think a sleeper for that as well, Bernie, is J.R. Welty. Maybe early in the season, not going to get enough playing time to be in that conversation, but I do think if he gets full at bats, he could be in that conversation as well. Bernie, I'm going to stick with you, but let's go ahead and head over to 12U Floyd here. This team had a great opening weekend, a team that's really looking to make an impact in the Bears in 2025. So, Bernie, let's start with a couple pitchers here. We'll start with you. Owen Haynes had 106 strikeouts in 2024. In his first outing this year, he had 11. He will end up with blank Ks in 2025.
I'll go with 118. I
Wow.
think. It's going to go up. But, the record is 130-ish, so that's going to be hard to pass. But he'll be near that.
Yeah, 118 strikeouts would be a huge amount for Owen Haynes. I think he's definitely got that sort of potential. KJ, sticking with the pitching staff here, a guy who was not quite as good as Owen Haynes last year, but looked pretty good in his first outing. Cooper Woolen had 43 strikeouts in 2024. He had 7 in his first start this year. He will end up with blank in 2025.
Well, I think Cooper did all those, and we kind of learned to curveball this winter. So he did those all pre-curveball, so he had 43 pre-curveball. I'm going to go with 88 strikeouts.
Yeah, I was going to say 81. I think Cooper could very easily be in the high 70s or 80s with his arsenal this year. I think he's going to get more innings than he did last year. I think definitely has a chance there. Let's go ahead and move on to 14U Floyd. This team has not played a game yet in 2025. Have not seen this team. But looking at last year, KJ, we'll start with you. Last fall, 3 different 14U players hit home runs last fall in 2024. In 2025, blank different players will hit a home run.
I'm going to say 6 different guys.
Wow. Give me some candidates. Give me some names.
I'm going to say I think, Nick and Knifrey are the ones people are expecting. I think you got Hank Scholes, Lana Portell. I think Colby Lair took a big step up. Quentin Choate on Weibrecht. Even Jacob Larry's got a lot of pop. So I think a lot of different candidates could do it.
Yeah, the number that came to mind for me was 6 as well. I think there's a lot of different guys who could homer. I think you got 4 just locks, just straight up locks. And I think there's another 4 or 5 who could be in that conversation as well. Bernie, for you, let's go to the pitching side. Blank different pitchers will have twice the amount of strikeouts that they do walks in 2025 for 14U Floyd. How many pitchers will have twice the amount of Ks as walks in 2025?
Twice the amount, it's kind of hard to do. I'll go with 3 at least, if not 4. I'll say 3 though for the show.
Give me some candidates, Bernie.
Colby Lair is going to be dominant. Hank Schultz and Lana Portell are some guys. And I've heard a lot of good things about Quentin Choate, especially in live arms, right? This guy's going to rack up a lot of Ks.
This team did not have anybody with twice as many strikeouts as they did walks last fall. So if they had 3 or 4, that would be a massive step forward for this team. Let's go ahead and talk of some of the early big players here in the season. Let's go ahead and start with you, Bernie, a guy who plays for your team, a guy who I think is in tune for a huge season. Kenny Douglas had an OPS of 872 in 2024. In 2025, Kenny Douglas' OPS will be blank.
I'll go with a 1-2.
Wow, 1,200 OPS. You think Kenny Douglas is going to be a monster season this year?
That's why he's opening the year in the 3-hole, man.
Yeah, I mean, this guy definitely a big-time player. I think if you were to say, what do you think is Kenny's biggest strength at the plate, and what do you think is his biggest weakness? If he doesn't hit a 1,200 OPS, what's going to stop him, you think?
What's going to stop Kenny, man, is him not swinging the bat, being too passive, expecting the guys behind him to do it. We saw in the first weekend, I think he had 4 plate appearances, walked 3 of them. They weren't like he saw 4 straight balls. He was going full count, taking 5 pitches in a row. Then he ends up walking, expecting the guys behind him to do because he's got Owen Lewis to vote behind him. But he's the guy now at 3, and he needs to own it.
Yeah, I think Kenny Douglas certainly. The ceiling, I think, is a 1,400 OPS. I think if he can really buy into being a superstar and being aggressive and taking less walks to hit more extra base hits, I could definitely see Kenny Douglas in that 1,200 conversation. I was going to say 1,100, Bernie, but I think certainly a great call there. KJ, a hitter you believe on your team, Colby Lair had a batting average of .327 in 2024. In 2025, his batting average will be around blank.
I'm going to say the average doesn't go up as much expected, maybe 360, but I think the extra base hits, the slugging percentage, the OPS, all that good stuff is going to go way up. I think he's going to have way more extra base hits.
Yeah, I think Colby's just going to be way more consistent this year. So even though he doesn't necessarily strike me as a singles hitter either, KJ, I think he could be up close to 400 because of how consistently he's going to be hitting the ball hard and taking good at-bats. Okay, let's go ahead. I have a list here of 5 hitters who I thought were interesting from the first weekend of the Bears. I got 5 interesting hitters. The hitters here are Knox Kennedy, Whedon Hainline, Chase Sutherland, James Allison, and J.R. Welty are 5 guys who I thought I saw interesting things from in week 1. KJ, the player with the highest ceiling of these 5 is who for 2025?
I'm going to say Knox Kennedy. This is a guy I think out of this group, he's the most athletic. He's spent a lot of time in the program. He's kind of got that Bears swing where he swings out of his shoes. If he can make contact, it's going to go very far.
Bernie, for you, Knox Kennedy, Whedon Hainline, Chase Sutherland, James Allison, J.R. Welty. The player with the highest floor in 2025 is blank.
I'm gonna go with Whedon Hainline because in years past we saw he's a big contact guy. The high floor has always been there. I think we're at a point now where Whedon's kind of figured it out, right? He's the same kind of hitter, but he's added power to him. So I think the swing and miss is still going to be way down. He's still going to hit for a high average. We're just going to see the extra base hits go up this year.
This next list of 5 hitters are ones I believe could be huge breakouts here in 2025. So the list of 5 hitters here, we have Parker Kugler, Braden Young, Rowan Damschroeder, Owen Weibrecht, and Carson Warner. I think all 5 of these hitters have breakout potential. KJ, the player in this group with the highest ceiling is blank.
I'm going to go for the highest ceiling. I'm going to say Parker Kugler. This is a guy who really impressed me a lot in BWL. I never really knew who he was before that, but he had some balls that the indoors didn't do justice on. He can hit the ball very, very far. If he starts working his way, breaking into that lineup, I think he can do a lot of damage.
Bernie, Kugler, Young, Damschroeder, Weibrecht, and Warner, the player with the highest floor of this group is blank.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Owen Weibrecht. This guy, bad toward the top of that 14 Floyd team last fall. We know this guy's one of the fastest guys in the Bears. He's going to hit for a high average. He's going to have a shot here to be a superstar of that team again this year.
I've got one more group of 5 here that I want the highest ceiling and highest floor. These are 5 pitchers who I think could have big breakouts in 2025. Hamilton Case, Hunter Finley, Connor Kennedy, Quentin Choate, and Madden Hammontree. KJ, the pitcher here with the highest ceiling in 2025 is blank.
Yeah, I think for ceiling, we got to take into account a guy who has, 2. If both his pitches are on, he's going to be lights out. I think that's Hamilton Case. He throws a hard fastball, and his curveball is one of the best of that age. And he can throw it for strikes very consistently. When Hamilton's in the zone, no one's going to touch him.
Bernie, Case, Finley, Kennedy, Choate, and Hammontree, the player with the highest floor in 2025 is blank.
Yeah, it's got to be Hunter Finley. We saw this guy as a strike thrower last year. And even as I'm sitting here imagining my rotation, if Hunter Finley's at his worst, I still think he's our 4th best pitcher, even with a deep pitching staff. And at his best, he could still be one of the best.
All right, I got 3 questions here. Open it up. Any youth player in the Bears that you want to answer for these, I got 3 questions. I want both of you to answer. Bernie, we'll start with you on this first one. Bases loaded, 2 outs in the last inning. The hitter I want up is blank.
I mean, come on. For me, still, if there's a hitting question, like I say, looking at the answer to pitching questions, I think Harrison Blaylock's still the answer right now to hitting questions.
KJ, for you, bases loaded, 2 outs in the last inning. The hitter I want up is blank.
Yeah, when I'm thinking about this one, I got to have someone who's got that dog in them, someone who's got that grit. And I'm going to go Christian Jenkins. Game on line, I want Jenkins up.
Bernie, bases loaded, 2 outs in the last inning. The pitcher I want on the mound is blank.
Bases loaded, 2 outs?
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Got to get out of it.
Like I said, I know this guy's not going to walk anybody, and I think that he's going to be dominant this year. I'm going to go with Hunter Finley.
Okay, KJ, bases loaded, 2 outs. The pitcher I want in the last inning is blank.
Yeah, I think this guy was in a similar situation in the championship in BWL. Based on 2 outs, I want Colby Laird to close that game out for me.
Okay, and finally, the last question here of the show. A second-team player, the current second-team player, who's going to have the biggest impact in 2026 is blank, Bernie.
Yeah, gotta go with the Burn guy, J.R. Welty. Big guy who could come up this year, but I think you're really going to see him, if he sticks with the program, is going to be a big-time player in 2026.
Okay, so yeah, a second-team player who's going to have the biggest impact in 2026 is blank.
Yeah, give me Benny Wayner. I think this is a guy who can do it from all facets of the game. He's already a really good defender. The bat's coming along. On the mound is definitely coming along too. I think he's just that type of kid. He's a great athlete. He's that type of kid that Rob's going to like a lot, and I think he's going to be a mainstay on that top team soon.
Yeah, I think both those are great calls. We've talked about Jarrett Welty several times in this show. I think we all really like him. And, of course, Benny Wanner, I think, is one of my favorite prospects. He's a top 3 prospect for me in the entire Bears. So, again, rainouts suck, never fun, but got a chance today to kind of step back and talk about a ton of different players. So, hopefully you enjoyed this BBN episode. We should get some baseball this weekend. It looks like we are going to play, so hopefully we'll get a ton of Bears baseball this weekend. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Bears Baseball Network, and we'll talk to you all next week.